Welcome to Fiscal Integrity Group, your ticket to bookkeeping greatness. Hi, and welcome to Fiscal Integrity Group. I'm Herb Holst. Selling for the freelance bookkeeper or contractor. You could be one of the best bookkeepers in the world, but if nobody's buying into your services, you really don't have anything. The way I see it, sales ignites the business. It provides the work for you that allows everything else in your company to happen, from growth to success. Whether you do it yourself or whether you have somebody do it for you, it needs to be done. In this lesson, I'm going on the assumption that either you or one of your staff members is going to take on this task. Let's get started. Welcome to the Art of Selling. What I'd like to talk to you about is the whole process of marketing yourself as a contract bookkeeper or as a bookkeeping company. In essence, we took a startup or a brand new company from startup to success with over 125 clients and the staff to service them in about a dozen years. We also interacted at any given time with about a couple of dozen accountants as well in order to service these clients. So how did we do that? First, you need to realize that there's lots of business out there, especially for experienced bookkeepers at the top of their game. If this speaks to you, you need to leverage this into a stable of reliable clients that will allow you to keep your business and keep it growing and to take it as long as you want and as far as you want. It should also allow you to grow your business pretty much as you see fit. In other words, you call the shots. Don't forget, every business and company needs an accurate and up-to-date set of books not only to satisfy internal requirements, but to satisfy government requirements as well. There's lots of business out there, and as often as not, the good bookkeepers will fill up very quickly and take themselves off the market. They may not wish to grow or to hire the staff to, again, take on more work, and that leaves the field open for you. So they'll stick to serving the clients that they have, and you can take on all of the rest. Now, second, for those of you that want to grow your business, the strongest method of getting new business is to build on the business that you already have. In other words, obtaining referrals from people that you've already done work for and that know your work and that like your work. Not only does this mean customers, but accountants as well. Accountants are a very good and strong source of referrals. If an accountant or an accounting firm likes you, they will send you additional business because, again, that makes their job easier. And if it comes in your direction, you win and so do they. Most accountants are not interested in doing the bookkeeping, but rather in carrying on from where a good and complete set of books leaves off. The key to getting this business is to not compete with them, but give them what they need, which is a good set of books. You don't need to really necessarily get into the higher end stuff that they perform anyways. Because why would they want to send business to you and in essence bolster their competition? So this is one of the most important things that we can offer, or that I can offer, certainly in terms of selling, is that you need to work with accountants and not in competition with them. They'll give you business. The key to this is a great working relationship. Now think about it. Do you really want to compete with them on things like taxes and tax returns and the higher end accounting functions or controller functions? If so, carry on, but realize that you may be missing up on a great referral opportunity. Okay, also be aware of the potential liability in dealing with this kind of stuff. They've trained for many years in order to be able to do that, and they have the experience to do so. This is their specialty, and really, is it yours? You should be very careful here because there's a lot of potential liability involved as well. If you intend to supply your customers with really good top-flight books, their accountants will see your work and they'll like it and send you business. Okay? So, most satisfied customers are happy as well to give you referrals. If they like your work, they often know others that are in need of the same service, and they can refer business to you. It all comes back to people genuinely wanting to help other people. This is just something we innately do. If we can help out our friends and our colleagues and acquaintances, that makes us feel good. Okay? So be aware, however, that in giving you a referral, they're putting their reputation, they're staking their reputation a little bit on this as well, and they're hoping that you will give them the same kind of excellent service that they got from you in the first place. Okay, so they're going to want you to take care of their referrals the same way you've taken care of them. Most of our businesses come from these two sources: customers, satisfied customers, and accountants that like our work. It's all about the referrals. I can't state that often enough, the actual connection between real people. If you think that's not necessarily true, think about it. Do you like receiving cold calls from anybody for anything?
Now, why would customers, when it comes to your own services or set of skills that you have to offer? Again, people prefer to deal with people they know and feel comfortable with, and that have dealt perhaps with friends. So referrals are it. This referral network will in turn build up your reputation, and from there you should enjoy additional business as well. It all sort of steamrolls right from there. It's interesting to see the traction that develops from this kind of marketing, the referral marketing. What's more, the cost is not nearly as high as the other forms of marketing, and you know that there's going to be positive results because you can see and measure these results as well. There's no expensive ad campaigns or advertising blitzes. There's no high dollar outlay for marketing materials as well. You just interact with your clients, their accountants, and of course referrals coming on and on and on. Now, in our experience, we have found this to be the most highly effective and most rewarding way of obtaining and doing business. In terms of referrals, the other thing that you can consider is to join networking organizations that specialize in getting people to meet, to do business with each other. And again, the primary purpose is to develop business relationships that should result in additional exposure and as a result get you more business. There are a number of them out there. The one that comes to mind most frequently is local chambers of commerce that, again, it's in their interest to have local business people meet each other and get to know each other, and that just generates more business, which in turn helps their cause as well. There's other organizations like Business Networking International or BNI that also specialize in this kind of thing. They're all about referrals. These involve a little bit of time and effort, but you'll find that the rewards more than outweigh the time and effort that you have to put into this or that you have to dedicate to it. People prefer to deal with and do business with people they already know. I've already mentioned that, and it's all about staying within a comfort zone. Alternately, dealing with somebody who has already made friends or an acquaintance with somebody that you know also helps with that trust factor and that comfort thing. This is where organizations like BNI or Chambers of Commerce or the like come in. Be very careful that the ones you select stay focused on generating business for their members. If not, why are you wasting your time there? It has to be all about business and doing business. As any good salesperson knows, it's all about relationships, and building them well will allow business to follow. In this day and age, pretty much every serious company needs a website of some sort. This would include yours if you're serious about growing your business or your bookkeeping practice. The website will provide an anchor where people can find you, and if they're looking to do business with you, make that first connection, and that's important. Now, just a couple of things on this score. Remember that your website will be competing with all the other websites in your area for the services that you provide and the field of expertise that you have to offer or that somebody is looking for. It doesn't hurt to have a well-constructed site that really markets you well and that gives your potential customers the information they need to choose you. A little creative flair in this regard can't hurt. And it's also about impact and convincing them to make the move and connect. Again, it's that all-important physical connection, that connection with you so that you can then further explore doing business with them. Once the connection is made and the interview is set, that's when the real action begins. Now, if you plan on using your website as a key marketing tool, be aware that a lot of time and money can be spent on this kind of thing. Maintenance, blogs, search engine optimization or SEO. In other words, making your site the first one that shows up if somebody's looking in your area for your particular service. My personal spin is that it should be a good website, but you don't necessarily need to go overboard on it because, again, I still think that referrals are the key way of doing it. A good website just supplements the referral activities that you have on the go. Okay, in our experience, it wasn't a prime source of business for us, but others have done very well and may do very well, and that may be you as well. So you may beg to differ. My one piece of advice is to not advertise your pricing on your website. Leave that for the face-to-face meeting. If you do this at this stage of a customer's inquiry, it may turn the customer away and you don't even know that they were even looking, and you haven't even been given a chance to explain what you're going to offer for the price and what you bring to the table for this sort of thing. Leave all talk of money for the client interview and the subsequent quotation. Trust me on this. This is a really good practice. Anyone completely focused on your pricing structure with no consideration for what you bring to the table and for what you're going to do for the money is likely not going to wind up being an excellent client anyways, or they'll be a less desirable client because all their focus is on the money and nothing but, and they're just looking for the cheapest possible solution for their problems, even though they don't even realize or may not realize that it may not be the best solution for their processes. There are enough good clients out there without having to put up with the bad ones. The one thing that success has allowed us to do was to be somewhat selective and fussy about the clients that we brought on board. Yes, we have turned down potential clients that we determined just wouldn't be a good fit for us. This does happen. When it comes to marketing materials, be careful here as well. If you have noticed, like, how many pens do you own with logos on them that you've received over time from various potential sources? And do you remember who you actually got them from? Do you even look at the logos when you're writing or when you use them? It's all about impact, and again, you can spend a lot of money on this kind of thing, and it doesn't really have the impact that you need to generate business for you. So you need to concentrate on items that have that impact, that uniqueness, and that retention value. This would go for anything from handouts to flyers, brochures, ads, whatever. This type of marketing can gobble up a lot of cash flow without or with very little tangible return. If you must, select your marketing materials carefully and keep the vanity out of it. Again, it's the impact and the things that will drive people to connect with you that need to make the difference in this sort of thing. A well-managed and executed email campaign might actually even give you better results than using marketing materials, and cost you a whole lot less as well. Now, as a person responsible for sales in our company, I must admit that I was really more of a closer than an aggressive sales lead generator. Because of our referral network and business relationships, the ones that I had in place, business inquiries came to us in a fairly steady flow. My task was reduced, if I could put it that way, to setting up the meeting, exploring the parameters of their bookkeeping needs, and then quoting and following up. And that's kind of a nice position to be in. Again, it's already like you're pre-screened. And based on the amount of work that's out there, this kind of strategy should work for you as well. You want to have people coming to you, not necessarily you always chasing after them. I'm the first to concede that the whole thing about marketing is that different things work better for different situations. We have found that what I've mentioned here has worked extremely well for our bookkeeping company. You need to decide how much you want to grow your business, test the waters in your area to see what kind of business is there, size up your competition, and when it's all said and done, put out amazing work to let the world know that you are by far the very best choice that anybody can make. The referrals and applications should start coming in and keep coming in. Go get them, Tigers. Now for the interview. Okay, so you received an application and a potential client is looking for you to come in and check them out. Now it's time to turn on your A game. Everything you've done to this point has been in an effort to get this meeting. This is where it all begins. Not only do you get to check them out to determine if you want to do business with them, but they get to check you out as well. You get to strut your stuff to convince them that you are by far the best choice and the best answer to their challenges. Here's a few things that I've learned and what worked very well for me. First of all, research your prospective client in advance. Google really works well for this, as most people, or just about everyone, has some sort of a presence on the web, and most companies do have a website that you can sort of look in on. You can tap into this. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter are additional sources of information. You go into the interview with some knowledge of what your prospective client is all about, and you can talk to them intelligently about their business. And it also shows that you're interested in them. Secondly, dress for the occasion. Showing up in your tracksuit and sneakers is not going to create the impact you should be going for. I'm not saying you need to go full-on formal, but business casual or casually neat should do the trick. Next thing is to show up on time. You need to respect their time as you hope that they'll respect your time going forward if and when you're doing business together. This is just common courtesy and should be something you strive for regardless of the situation. Believe it or not, one of the things that you will truly be selling along with your expertise and work ethic is your time and that of your company. Again, most of us will be billing by time, and again, it's time that's all critical in this sort of thing. It has value, and that's what everybody needs to realize, you and your prospective clients. Most often, especially when you're starting out, you won't have to have an office to invite a prospective client to. There's no harm in you going to them. That's actually not a bad thing. It shows your drive and initiative, and it will also give you a better feel for the client's business. This in turn will help you formulate your battle plan for their books. I cannot overstate the value of the visual information that you can get from a site visit. Now for the meat and potatoes of the interview. I go in with a checklist of questions and information that I need in order to be able to understand the requirements and to keep me focused. This checklist, which I've designed and refined long ago, is generated in Excel and printed on my company letterhead, which again gives some visual impact. It shows that I'm organized and that I'm ready and there to do business. It shows off that organizational ability. It includes places for such information as their address and contact information, tax obligations, payroll requirements, anything of that nature, business structure, and additional information for other contacts that may not be reflected in the business cards that you will generally exchange up front. Make sure that you have an email address to send the quote to when you are finished dialing that up for them. Record in detail what they need from you. Again, it's a matter of coming to terms with what kind of bookkeeping services they require. Not all companies require the same thing. And whatever you do, don't rely on your memory down the road to fill in the gaps. Put it down on paper. Trust me on this as well, because again, a lot can happen during this meeting. You don't want to forget anything because it'll allow you to make a better quote and perhaps seal the deal. Writing it down shows that you're taking them seriously and taking their application to heart so that you can regurgitate it in a quote and give them exactly what it is they are looking for. This will be sure to impress them. Now, by utilizing a checklist structure in the information that I take down, it sort of minimizes the amount of writing that I have to do. The next thing I want you to consider is how I conduct myself and how you should conduct yourself during the interview as well. In essence, I am selling myself and my company. That's even if I won't be the one directly doing the actual bookkeeping work. I may have staff to do that, but notwithstanding, I need to sell myself and my company at this start. My intent is to impress the customer with my knowledge of bookkeeping and what my company and I can bring to the table. I also try and speak as intelligently about their business as possible and the challenges that I'm pretty sure they're facing as well. Again, this is all part of my research ahead of time. I should mention that in my working career myself, I've gained a lot of experience and knowledge about a lot of different kinds of businesses. That coupled with my inherent gift for gab allows me to do this sort of thing very well. You need to do what you can to the best of your knowledge and abilities, and remember the research to do that in advance that I'd mentioned earlier. Now keep in mind that you bring a lot to the table as well, and they need you and your expertise, or they wouldn't have asked you to come there in the first place. So be confident. Now, in my discussion with the potential client, I often give away little nuggets of information that they likely didn't know before or realize was necessary. Am I giving away the store? Perhaps just a little bit, but in almost all cases I'm cementing my position as the expert, and it's the expertise that they're looking for and going to be paying for down the road. Don't be afraid to do this. Trust me. The serious client needs to know that what they'll be getting is what they're going to be paying for. Although I do discuss pricing, I build it into my delivery or my presentation by explaining that I or my staff can do the bookkeeping and the work better and probably more efficiently and faster than they can, and that's the value that they'll be paying for. We'll take on the responsibility for tax and payroll deadlines. We'll only do as much work as needed and as much work as is necessary to fulfill their needs and their application. This is fair to them, and it's fair to us. For the potential client, we have other things to bring to the table as contract bookkeepers that you can discuss. We bring ready-made expertise. You don't have to train us, we train ourselves, and that's what you're buying or what you're paying for. We utilize our own computers in most cases and the accounting software that we need to do our job. While at the same time, there are instances where we will use their computers and put staff in place to work with their programs because that's the way it needs to be done for their particular application. Now, if they have, again, dedicated software that they need to run the rest of their business as well, that includes the bookkeeping component, we're good with that. We can work with it. Ultimately, it's all about flexibility and what you can accommodate in order to give them what they need. We don't require dedicated space and commitments normally required by staff members. A staff person will need to be on payroll and will need to be filled with enough work to keep them busy for whatever time they are hired on for. If we have staff ourselves, we have the luxury of being able to cover each other for things like illness or vacation, and we take responsibility for missed deadlines based on our work, and provided that the client gives us the information that we need to do our work in a timely fashion. The list goes on and on. I guess the key here is to play on your strengths. Once you have the information you need, I strongly advise that you put together a really top-notch quote and do so in short order. This will reinforce your understanding of the application, lay out the customer's expectations from you, and also what your expectations are from them, including the comprehensive terms and conditions section. This is actually an important thing. If constructed properly with the appropriate places for signatures, the quote can convert to a contract, a working contract, that will formally begin the relationship and get the ball rolling and the work underway. The key components of the quotations that I have in place, of the quotations that I have put out in the past, include obviously the date, the client contact information, and a salutation. We also include a quotation number that is set up for easy retrieval by date and quote number, and it's the unique identifier for us for that customer's particular application. Also in the quote is my description of my understanding of what the application is all about, what their business is all about, and what they need. And then it lays out my services or the services of my staff in performing for their requirements. Here is where the price per hour plus the applicable taxes for services come into play. Here in Ontario it would be harmonized sales tax. Whatever your jurisdiction or country is, you will have your own requirements for that. Just don't forget about the taxes. Closing with an appropriate place for signatures to convert the quote to a contract, and then following that up with a standard terms and conditions page or pages. We actually have 2 pages of terms and conditions. Trust me, you want this to be covered in extreme detail because again, it bases it on your requirements and your needs in order to be able to do the job properly. This has saved us on many occasions, and again, it's all about having it in writing. I strongly advise you to charge by the hour. I have a big problem giving a fixed price up front as it's very difficult at best to determine how long it's going to take to estimate the time in the early going without any history to guide you. I've also had clients show up or show me the amount of paperwork to be crunched and then later show up with additional boxes of paperwork and claim that it's actually stuff that they kind of forgot, and with a fixed price based on your best estimate up front, you'll now be pressured into eating the extra time. If a client insists on a fixed price for budgetary purposes, I still try to go with hourly for a few months until we can get a bit of history in place and a feel for the file before offering a fixed price. In my experience, when I'm pushed for a fixed price, I quote high because to be realistic about it, I'm not in it to lose money. And I often let the client know that I got to quote high because again, I don't have any clue as to how long it's going to take at this particular stage in the game. Not in it to lose money. Another recommendation is to convert your file, or your finished quote rather, to a PDF before you send it over to them. This is easily emailed as an attachment and provides a professional looking document that is not easily altered. The quote can then be printed, signed, and scanned by the customer and returned by email to get the ball rolling. The signed document now becomes your legal proof and recourse if things go off the rails. Keep a hard copy in a safe place as well as an electronic copy, an email attachment. For ongoing assumption and maintenance of an existing file that is up to date, I'm good with offering to bill upon completion of the work for the given time frame, whether it be months or quarters or what have you, again depending on the client's requirements. The time frame will be determined by how much work needs to be done and how critical it is for things like tax remittances and so on and so forth. Okay, so for instance, I mean charging for the July books in August. Once I finish the July books, sometime in August, I'll bill for that. For catch-ups and cleanups, I have no problem building non-refundable deposits into the quote and progress payments that are going to be required upfront and ongoing, so that, again, the work can carry on and I'm not footing the bill for this long-term commitment. I have no stomach really for putting an incredible amount of work into this kind of project only to have it fall apart because the customer got cold feet or something else has happened, and now I'm stuck with having to pay my staff if necessary for all the work and not getting paid myself. I don't really feel that that's a good idea. This is only prudent, especially if you have the staff, again, that has to be paid, and you're putting in your money in order to satisfy the customer. They need to show good faith in order to keep going and put the progress payments in place. Be very careful about this particular policy. In the early going of our business, we got burned on it and we learned very quickly ourselves. You learn and adapt fast, or you suffer the consequences of history repeating itself. Which brings me to another point. If customers are exceptionally late in paying or have no intention of paying, in other words, they're taking you for a ride, I have no problem sending them or their invoices to collections or taking them to small claims court. It's all about being fair and being honest and being upfront, and if they're not going to deal fairly and honestly with me, we'll take measures. I do, of course, give them ample opportunity to make things right first, but fair is fair, and there are customers out there that have no problem taking advantage of you. Stand your ground. That being said, most of our customers in the past have been absolutely amazing to work with, and we've built great working relationships across time. It's only the few that spoil it for the rest of them. Okay, so the potential customer has your quote. I like to give them a day or two to mull it over, perhaps get in touch if they find something that they have questions on or that they want or need to have changed, and if they have any concerns. However, at some point in time we'll call them, and calling them will give us the opportunity, or give me the opportunity, to reestablish and strengthen the relationship. I ask them if they have any questions or concerns, and if they do, we discuss it, and if necessary, I will rebuild and resend the quote. Again, you want to make sure that it's right. This is fair game, and I don't have a problem with this. At some point, however, you should push for an answer. And for those of you who are a little timid about making that push, let me put it to you this way. They owe you an answer. That's right, they owe you. You've essentially taken the time, often at their request, to come in and take down the parameters of their application, gather the information, construct the quote, and then do the follow-up. The least they can do is give you a yes or a no, and that might be the situation. You might have to accept that it might be a no. If they're good about it, they'll do so. And give you a reason for that decision as well. If you lose out on the project, don't be afraid to ask why. Most often you will get an honest response which will allow you to at least modify your approach, delivery, or terms in the future, and that's a good thing. Sometimes you may lose out over price, but there may be other considerations such as location, competition, logistics, etc. If you really want the job and can accommodate the customer's misgivings, you may wish to ask to requote, but be careful about this, especially about dropping your price. The perception may be that you could have offered the lower price in the first place, and why didn't you do that? If the potential client asks you for a discount or a better price, at least they're still interested and they've come to you. Now you have the choice as to whether or not you want to requote them and go with the lower price. At least it was their request. I caution you not to go too low, as your margins may suffer, and don't forget, you're in business too, and you deserve to make your money out of this whole thing as well. Okay, you have your own expenses to take into consideration. Don't ever forget that. If you get the project, there's one thing that you need to do, and it's very important that you do so right off the bat. Thank the customer. Imagine something that was drilled into you even before you got to kindergarten being so important in this day and age. This new customer has just placed their financial health and well-being in your hands and their faith in you, and that deserves a thanks. For them, it's a big move. They deserve a thank you. If you're doing the work yourself, gather up the paperwork and the information that you need to get things done, the file exchange, the information exchange, and the scheduling of the work. If you're going to be passing it off to staff, you need to set up meetings in order to get things rolling. I suggest the first thing you do is that you have a jumpstart meeting to familiarize your staff with the project, because at this point in time, you're the only one that knows about it. You're the primary point of contact, and you need to facilitate at some point in time introductions between your staff and the new customer. This is all still on you, and you need to be able to do that in short order, especially once you've got the order and it's time to get down to work. Review the key points of the quote and the contract with your original information that you took from that information sheet I talked about earlier. Review all of that with the staff or with the person that's going to be taking on the file, and then set up the meeting with the client. Offer in the short run to act as a go-between if necessary, to do paper exchange or information exchange, just to sort of help smooth the process along until things can really get rolling and the staff person can start dealing directly with the client. It adds a personal touch and again reinforces your own relationship with the client, letting them know that you haven't really deserted them now that you've got the order. You're still involved and you still intend to maintain that relationship. Okay, once the file is underway, make it a point to call the client every once in a while just to see how things are going and if things are going well, and to see if they have any concerns or questions or anything of that nature. Don't forget, it's all about the relationships. It doesn't stop for you when the contract gets signed, and you should never lose track of that relationship that you've taken so much time to build in the first place. Okay, the client needs to know you're still watching their back and watching out for their best interests. This also serves to reinforce that you are the best choice, and if they run into somebody else and you're taking good care of them, they will have no problem referring you as well. I've offered to do pickups and deliveries for clients, especially if I'm in the neighborhood anyways. It gives me another excuse to walk in the door. Okay, it keeps me in their consciousness, and that's a good thing for all the reasons I've just mentioned. I've developed a lot of really great long-lasting relationships just by using this approach. Selling is most certainly an art form in itself. I'm the first to admit that there are more ways to do it than I've just discussed right here. Again, different things will work well for different people. Regardless, what I've said here and what I've outlined here has served us very well. My closing rate for all these years has been better than 70%. Now, that's really pretty good when you think about it. So in other words, for every 3 visits I made, I managed to land about 2 clients out of those visits. Not bad if I have to say so myself. Part of my success in closings has been due to the relationships that I've built over time and the referrals that this has resulted in. Effectively, I've been kind of pre-screened before I even pick up the phone to set up the meeting. And this is powerful stuff. So let's recap. Build on your business, especially the business that you already have. Work on referrals from customers and accountants. These are good referral sources. Don't compete with the accountants because, again, they can provide you with a lot of business provided they don't perceive you as the competition. Join networking organizations to help, again, bolster your image and your exposure in the area. Have a great website. Don't necessarily have to go terribly overboard, but it should be a good one anyways, a good one that'll attract people and give them the information they need to connect with you. Leave all talk of money to the client interview. Be selective on your marketing materials as well. Make sure it's going to work for you if you're going to lay out that kind of money. When you're going for that client interview, bring your A game. Again, that's important. This is where it all comes down to brass tacks. You're either going to get them or you're not based on your performance here. Research the customer in advance. Dress for the occasion. Show up on time. Bring a checklist of questions if you've got one put together so that you can keep yourself focused and on track and make sure that you get everything that you need. Sell yourself and impress the company. Don't forget to give them something extra to let them know that you are indeed the expert they're looking for and that you have what it takes to get the work done for them. Put together a top-notch quotation that can again convert into a contract. And if you can, initially charge by the hour. Some clients will want to have a fixed price for budgetary purposes, but again, this is a dangerous game to play in the early going because you don't really have any idea of how long it's going to take. Do your follow-up and connections and visits, again, to let the client know that you're still involved and that you're going to take care of them and stay committed to them. And don't forget to thank the customer again if you've got that, if you've won that particular project. Do a proper handoff of to staff, again, to get the ball rolling once that contract has come in. And, yep, carry on. That's it. All the very best of luck in your sales endeavors. You have an amazing service to sell. You just need to let people know about it. Go for it. I'm Herb Holst. Thanks for watching. Fiscal Integrity Group, your home for the advancement of bookkeeping and bookkeepers.